best Chinese drama videos or Korean drama or Asian drama videos channels on the entire internet. And this one just seems insane, where apparently you go from being rich or being kidnapped. I have no idea what we're getting in for.
Imagine if you get to swap lives with one person of your choice for 7 days.
That sounds awesome.
Maybe you live the life of a luxury celebrity, or even better, the son of a Chinese millionaire who gets
If you swap lives with like someone's wife, does that mean you have to get pounded by their husband? I wonder.
an allowance of a property a month. But there's a catch. After the 7 days, prepare to have your entire life ruined. This
Why?
is one of China's most disturbing reality shows ever produced, Metamorphosis. And trust me, for a lot of these participants, the only thing that transformed was their trauma. Back in 2006, Hunan TV launched a brand new life swap show called Metamorphosis, and it immediately blew up. The concept was simple. Take one teenager from a rich city family and take another teenager from a poor rural village.
Okay.
Swap their lives for 7 days and see what happens.
Oh my God, bro. Showing the poor kid what the good life is and then putting him back. Bro, that's so fucked up. That is. Because you can get comfortable in bad situations, but it's way harder to see what the good life is. The premise of this is already so fucked up. What the hell?
The rich kids were spoiled, yelled at their parents, and didn't attend school. The show was supposed to show these rich city kids what hardship really looked like.
Sure.
Meanwhile, the poor rural kids would get to experience city life, broaden their horizons, and get motivated to chase bigger dreams. Pretty inspirational. At least that's what everyone watching at home thought.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I understand that perspective, but I don't think that's the outcome that happened.
Because the deeper you dig into this rabbit hole, the weirder it gets. Former contestants started exposing the producers for threatening and kidnapping them. They even said that they were being manipulated behind the cameras, and these people that they were supposedly helping, instead, when they went back home, it completely ruined their life. But how did it even come to this? I mean, at first, it was actually like a wholesome and educational program. The very first episode aired and it ended up becoming viral. It paired a teenager named Wei Cheng from the city of Changsha and a rural boy named Gao Jianxi from a poor village. Now, these two couldn't have been more different if you tried. Wei Cheng constantly skipped school. Most of his days were spent inside internet cafes instead of paying attention in class. He had a comfortable life in the city, but he completely took it for granted. Then there's Gao, and this kid lived in an incredibly poor village.
You want to know how the school systems are failing? It's the fact that homework still exists. There is no way that you can tell me that you have our kids for 8 to 9 hours a day and you can't get all the information that you need to get them in 8 to 9 hours. And you need more homework for 4 more hours every day of work. If our school systems are still doing this, they have failed. Homework should not exist, and our kids should be super geniuses with 8 to 9 hours of work every day. I mean, homeschooling is looking more and more and more appealing. And I believe 500 times more kids are being homeschooled now than they were back in the 1980s because our school systems aren't developing. And the reality is that school systems were made to train kids into being factory workers. That's a real thing, by the way. Look into it. And it's so archaic. It's so old. It's so dated. It's no longer needed. And I firmly believe that many parents who have a functioning life could have much better kids if they were to homeschool than send them to the fucking pig slop that is shit public school. Just my opinion.
Like Wei Cheng,
I am at least homeschooling them through pre-K and kindergarten and maybe all of elementary school. Honestly. Public school system seems like a trap to get your kids to be indoctrinated into being a fucking queer.
Dream wasn't becoming famous or making tons of money. All Gao wanted was just a regular education so that he could escape poverty. And right away, you could see how good this pairing worked for the show. You have one kid with a bunch of opportunities, all wasted. Then the other kid would do anything to have the same opportunities. And the plot started cooking. Wei Cheng arrived at Gao's village, and the parents had to treat him as if he was their child for the week. And this is where the reality of the rural life hit him like a truck. Something as basic as getting water was not simple at all. They literally had to wait 3 hours for the water to seep back into the well so that they could fill the bucket to drink. Meanwhile, nowadays, people are losing their minds because their Molly tea is taking more than 5 minutes to make. I'm talking to you, Kevin. And one day, Gao's father pulled out a small bundle of crumpled bills. Just 20 yuan. Now, 20 yuan isn't a lot for the city, but to this family, It was years of saving. Wei Chung
Jesus.
immediately refused the money, but Gao's father would not take no for an answer. He looked at Wei Chung and simply told him, "For these 7 days, you are my son." And Wei Chung completely broke down, because even later in his diary, he wrote that holding those 20 yuan felt like his heart was bleeding. And honestly, probably for the
Jesus.
first time in his whole life, did he actually understand what money meant. Meanwhile, Gao was in the city living a completely different experience. He arrived in Changsha and immediately...
This is another big issue that parents who are raising children have, where parents who had nothing when they were a kid want to give their kids everything that they wanted, but it ends up leading their kids being like selfish and they don't understand the value of anything and becoming spoiled. So you really do need to be careful with that.
He looked like he was someone who just landed on a different planet.
Because kids can't comprehend money because they've never worked hard to earn it, right? So you have to make sure that you have a process to make them earn what they're getting rather than just hand them everything.
I mean, looking outside, there were towering buildings, crowded streets. Everything was so different compared to the small village he grew up in. And the scene that made this show go viral was during Gao's first car ride into the city. He looked outside the window and just started crying.
Jesus.
This really hit netizens in the feels because Gao has never seen anything like this. I mean, he doesn't even know these things existed.
Yep.
And the contrast between these two lives were so massive that audiences could not stop tearing up. By the end of the week, Wei Chung was a completely different person. He voluntarily worked on a farm just to earn 20 yuan so he could repay Gao's father. He also kneeled down in front of Gao's parents and thanked them for everything that they'd done for him. And people absolutely ate this up because it became one of the greatest redemption arcs that people had ever seen. Just like that, Metamorphosis became one of the biggest reality shows in all of China.
I mean, yeah, I would absolutely watch that shit, but I'm assuming there's a darker secret. This sounds awesome.
But here's the thing. Once the show became successful,
yeah,
it turned into the exact same formula. The city kid would always be this rebellious, spoiled teenager. They'd swap lives, get dropped into the countryside, and start complaining, breaking things. Meanwhile, the poor rural kid was almost always portrayed the exact same way. Hardworking, polite, and extremely poor, like to the point where they didn't even know what a shopping mall was. And by the end, the rich city kid would become grateful and the poor rural kid would be inspired to chase bigger dreams. When this first season came out, it really was an educational program. Like the transformations were completely real. Nothing was really faked. But people started noticing something that didn't quite add up. You're telling me that years of bad parenting, family problems, and behavioral issues were all solved in just 7 days because the kid carried a bucket of water up a mountain? Something fell off, and eventually people realized that they've been watching the most evil and manipulative show in all of China. Because the biggest controversy of Metamorphosis came during season 7. They paired two kids whose lives were extremely different compared to the other seasons. On one side, you had the rich, spoiled city kid, Shin, and on the other, the poor rural kid, Wong. Let's start with Shin first, because this guy was known as the most difficult protagonist to change in the history of Metamorphosis. Like already you could tell what they're doing. They're building a villain. Shin was 16 years old when he joined the show, and he already dropped out of school. Like, he constantly smoked, partied, and went clubbing. Whenever he ran out of money...
How the fuck is he going clubbing at 16 years old? Isn't there an 18 and up? What the fuck is that?
He would just sneak into his mother's meetings when she was busy and just steal cash from her bag. He would also constantly threaten to sell one of his kidneys if his mother didn't give him money. Now that's definitely one way to negotiate.
What the fuck?
His mother owned a hotel and they belonged in China's upper class of private business owners.
So in case you guys don't know this, 80% of your child's brain is finishing developing by their age 3, which is why the first 3 years of raising a child is so important. And that's why I believe the maternity leave is too short, because us hardworking, not me, I'm privileged. I'm a spoiled fucking brat. I've already done my time being homeless and now I'm a multimillionaire. But the majority of hardworking Americans, they don't have time to raise their kids anymore. So they just, they get like 3 months off, 6 months off, they get the baby going, and then they ship it off to a random like child care worker. And you don't know what the fuck they do. And their kids become terrible and they hate their parents because they have no experience with them. They have no reason to listen to them at all. And that's why the first 3 years of parenting is so important, because that's when your baby's brain is rapidly accelerating and rapidly growing, and who they are becomes ingrained in them as early as 3 years old. And we as people in America, we're not supported in any way to do that because now hardworking Americans, mother and father, we can't take 3 years off. So our kids are in such a shitty spot. The youth that we are raising to raise this country is in such a shitty fucking spot because a household that can raise proper children no longer exists for over 80% of Americans. And I think it's ridiculous. Finding a good babysitter is important too. Yeah, of course. But like it only takes one lie to put someone into your fucking home that's taking care of your kids and making them fucking gay or making them entitled. Stop foreign aid. Stop welfare. Cut out food stamps. Only give them the essentials to live. Make prisoner and jailed life people worse. Okay? Bring back slavery. We need to do something where the modern, hardworking American can get a fucking job and support their loved one and at least one kid. I think that is the bare minimum we as a country should do. One job can support you, your wife, and one kid, and we're good. Everything else will fall into place. But right now, a household is so broken, even at a fundamental level.
Owners. Like, it's almost impressive how good of a contestant he is for the show. But when Shin first heard about Metamorphosis, he didn't see it as some educational, life-changing experience that will make him more grateful. Usually it's the parents who send the kids to the show, but Shin volunteered for it. His first thought wasn't, maybe this will make me a better person. It was, if I go on this show, won't I become a celebrity? He told his mother that studying was pointless, okay? It's useless. What a waste of time, right? He summed fame up into 4 words. Easy, entertaining, makes money, and gets worshipped. And this slowly foreshadowed how he approached the swap. Meanwhile, the girl he was swapping with, Wong, her entire family earned less than $1,000 in an entire year. Because while Shin was living life on easy mode, Wong had one of the saddest backstories in the entirety of the show. She lived in a tiny house made of mud in Shaanxi province, and her parents divorced very early on when she was only 3. And instead of growing up with them, she lived with their 70-year-old grandmother and her paralyzed uncle. That was her world, and their daily meals consisted of whatever they could grow that day, either beans or potatoes, and every day it was just survival, day after day. But Wong was incredibly smart and hardworking. She did all the chores by herself, cooked meals, washed clothes, and even looked after her paralyzed uncle.
Dude, that's fucking awesome, man. I hope to God I have a kid as hardworking as that kid. That's dope. Someone who wants to help around the house, truly a beautiful thing.
Whenever food was served, she'd quietly...
Yeah, no, these people actually are mud hut dwellers, guys. There are a lot of people who literally only know living in a mud hut their whole life. It's crazy.
Give her uncle
the fact that you even have access to internet is such a privilege.
Bigger portions while she just ate less herself. That's the kind of kid she was. Her family genuinely believed that this opportunity would help her, like maybe she'd experience something she'd never seen before, broaden her horizons, and come back with more confidence. Unfortunately, it turned out way worse than expected. But first, let's go back to Shin's side of the swap, because right when he arrived at the village where Wong lived, her family treated him like an absolute gem. They gave him their best room and even spent days preparing a welcome meal for him using one of the chickens in their farm, which is probably one of the nicest meals that they could ever afford. And Shin's response? He looked at the food. Sorry, if I eat too much, I'm gonna get fat. The room is not being read. Instead of talking with the family, Shin basically wandered around like a tourist. He started writing random things on the ground and started chasing bugs with a broom because he was bored. Then after just a few hours, he immediately went to the director and said, "Can we stop filming?" Over the next day, he had exactly one goal.
Oh my God.
Go home. Like, this man didn't care about changing. Like, he just wanted it out. Like, he already regretted it in the first 2 hours. I mean, what is this guy even doing here? He literally just starts emoting on them. He kept sleeping in, he continued smoking, although now he had to settle for cheaper cigarettes because he didn't have any money. I'm surprised that wasn't life-changing. I mean, he was trying to escape and literally fell off the hill and almost obliterated the grandma too. So maybe that was life-changing. Someone asked him what he learned so far. He said, "I was born into a pretty good family," which is probably the most self-aware thing that he'd said in this entire episode. And what happened next is where things started getting really weird because
it also sucks how like so many spoiled ass rotten kids ruin everybody else's hopes of having kids because they're so worried about having a piece of shit. But if you know what? if you raise your kid properly, you know, it's so hard to describe exactly what that is. I understand people's fear about raising kids, but and it seems like so just raise them right, forehead. But like in my opinion, I really like a authoritative type of parenting, with a lot of like Montessori. I've studied a lot of Montessori as well. Once again, I have no kids, but it's something that I think about every day, and it's a very important job. But it always sucks when kids end up like this. And I'll be real, and I do believe this. The majority of it does fall on the shoulders of the parent, but also it's becoming harder and harder to ensure that your kid is grown in a safe environment with access to the internet and everybody attempting to poison the mind of your children. It really sucks, man. It does really suck.
Production
It
team
sucks.
decided to just take matters into their own hands. Shin wasn't giving them enough drama. I mean, sure, he complained, he wanted to go home, but that just wasn't enough if you wanted a viral episode. But then we arrive at the scene that became one of the most famous moments in all of Metamorphosis. The furniture smashing incident. Shin was asked to wash somebody's hair because that was one of Wong's responsibilities.
Yeah, I think gentle parenting has completely ruined a lot of children as well. I think it's completely retarded. I believe in spankings. Spankings are something that are really negatively perceived on the internet. I was spanked and it really taught me what the fuck to not to do really quick. I don't know if I'll spank my kids. I don't think that I will, but I'm not going to shame anybody else for doing it either. I think it's completely fine.
Whenever she was home, he gets annoyed, starts throwing a tantrum, and then just starts breaking and smashing chairs, tables, and everything. And netizens were like, wow, this kid is completely out of control.
Jesus.
He needs to be taught a lesson. Except that's not actually what happened, because according to Shin, he just casually said that he didn't want to wash someone's hair. Nothing dramatic. And that's when multiple crew members surrounded him and started threatening him. They kept saying things like, if you don't wash your hair, you're never going home. You'll die surrounded by these mountains. Then when it was time to eat, they told him he wasn't allowed to have any food because he wasn't behaving. And if he did start eating, they would either lock him in the cabin or just take the car and leave. I mean, he was pretty much being held captive here. So eventually, he snapped and he started breaking things like smashing furniture. And this is exactly the explosive scene the producers want. Convenient, isn't it? Because now the show had a dramatic turning point. Oh no, he destroyed the family furniture. Oh well, I guess now he has to earn money to replace everything he broke. See how that perfectly fits the narrative? Behind the scenes, whenever the production team wanted him to look like a villain, they would constantly provoke him, bully him, irritate him. But whenever they wanted him to look redeemed, they would be so supportive, like, let's go, Shin, you're amazing, we're so supportive of you. So after breaking all of that furniture, they kept threatening him, so he had to go search for work to earn enough money to replace it. And almost magically, a coal miner happened to be hiring.
Wow.
It's almost like the redemption arc came to him. So Shin ends up working at the coal mine, and he uses—
They kidnapped him and put him in the mines. Oh my god. No way they put him in the mines.
all the money he earned to replace the furniture that he had
Wow.
broke. He sincerely apologizes to Wong's family and actually starts being respectful, like talking to them and helping around the house. For once, he starts showing respect. Alright, roll the emotional piano music.
Yep.
The rich kid has finally turned a new leaf.
Wow.
And netizens, of course, they absolutely ate it up. They flooded the comments talking about how incredible his transformation was, how inspiring it was, absolutely beautiful. But after the show ended, Shin actually came out exposing even more about the producers. Turns out the scenes where he constantly demanded money from his mother weren't as straightforward as the viewers believed. The producers actually gave him 1,000 yuan every time he stole cash from his mom. These guys weren't just documenting a spoiled teenager, okay? They were directing one. But the
Wait, reality TV is fake? No way.
consequences obviously don't disappear when the
No
filming
way.
ends, because unlike actors, these kids still had to go back to their original lives with the reputation that the show had created for them. Ironically, all of this controversy worked in Shin's favor. His arrogant image became his personal brand, and he started getting millions of followers. And he also bragged that he got more girls now because he could confirm that he was rich through the show. No, trust me, babe, I'm rich. Did you watch episode 7? Shin just openly said the show hadn't changed him at all. But you know who it did change? The poor rural girl he swapped with. Unlike Shin, who entered the show already rich, Wong entered a completely different universe. The moment she arrived in the city, she was treated like royalty. Shin's mother treated her like a princess. There's a huge party awaiting for her and a massive cake that she'd probably never even seen before. She started attending school in the city and even stayed in a super nice dorm with her classmates.
Oh, I really hope that she didn't just get completely ruined and all of her work ethic obliterated by these horrifically overspoiling parents. I'm sorry, bro. You cannot be doing this shit for your kids. This is way too much.
They welcomed her, shared snacks with her, and just made her feel included. And it was honestly really wholesome. She ate steak every dinner and posed for these luxury photo shoots. I mean, you could literally see her princess dream coming to life. But then things started changing really quickly because only a few days in, the show claimed Wong had undergone her own transformation. Except it wasn't the transformation that her family had hoped for. She slowly started treating everyone's kindness as something she deserved. She started making her friends bring her food. She began using large amounts of shower gel to wash her hands, her feet, and just everything, which is considered a big waste. She also expected classmates to fold her blankets and also forced people to comb her hair for her. She suddenly developed what Chinese netizens called princess syndrome. And then came the foot washing incident. Wong had started blackmailing a boy from her class and threatened that she would get him suspended if he didn't wash her feet every single morning. Now, once this aired, the internet absolutely exploded. She got flamed and people just hated this girl. She went from being introduced as this hard-working, rural little girl to suddenly becoming one of the most disliked participants in the entire history of Metamorphosis. Netizens called her spoiled, ungrateful, entitled. But guys, this is still a kid, okay? She's not an influencer chasing a Playboy millionaire. Imagine spending your whole life surviving and then somebody comes in and gives you everything that you've never had. Of course, a child is going to enjoy that. I mean, she's a kid. Obviously. But then the camera stopped rolling, and this is where the reality eventually set in because the show was over. She had to go home. Not back to the mansion or the shopping malls. Back to reality. And coming back to her village was far from a happy ending. I mean, it was emotional. She spent the whole week living in a comfortable home, taking warm showers, making friends, not having to worry about starving for the night. And then just one day, pack your bags, everyone. Season's over. Let's go home. And you're dropped right
this is actually so fucked up, man. They could be ruining these kids for life.
Back into the exact same life that you left. Except now, you know what you're missing. And that's probably the cruelest thing about this entire show. There's actually a quote that netizens kept using to sum up the rural kid's perspective of this entire show. I could have endured the darkness if I had never seen the sun. 100%. Wong started keeping some of the luxury habits that she picked up in the city. Things like using shower gel. But they didn't have any in the village. So you know what she did? She asked her grandmother to walk nearly 100 kilometers just to get some. And netizens saw this and immediately went, see? This kid is spoiled. Look, see, they aren't any different from the city kids. They're just as bad. And unfortunately, the criticisms just kept getting worse because she actually started asking her grandmother if she could somehow contact the Shin family again. She wanted to go back to see them and go back to the life that she had just experienced. So fucked. Of course, the season's over. And eventually Shin's family stopped responding to her and they even blocked her. It's honestly heartbreaking seeing this, because after the episode aired, she became one of the most hated kids in the entire history of the show. But then, years later, her uncle came forward and the story completely changed. According to him, a lot of Wong's princess behavior wasn't naturally happening at all. It had been manipulated and manifested into her personality by the producers. That infamous foot washing scene, you know, the scene that pretty much destroyed her entire reputation, her uncle claimed that Wong had actually been asleep and the crew woke her up and instructed her to ask a classmate to wash her feet. So,
reality TV is fake again, and damn it!
She did. Maybe going to a trusted adult isn't so trustworthy after all. And after the episode aired, people in her own village started gossiping about her.
No
Neighbors pointed
way.
fingers, and people whispered behind her back about the Wong family. And as she got older, the anxiety became so overwhelming that she rarely wanted to leave the home. She became terrified that people would recognize her. And eventually, her uncle had to make the decision to move her to another town so that she could focus on studying.
Bro,
But after
that's
everything
awful.
and developing this so-called princess syndrome, she still took care of her paralyzed uncle.
Good.
But nobody online cared anymore, because once Nessens decide you're the villain, good luck changing their minds.
True! They don't care about reality, they only care about what's interesting. Very true. I live it every day.
Her uncle said that he deeply regretted letting her participate in the show. He said that what had been advertised as an educational opportunity had ultimately become a game for the rich. Which perfectly sums up the entire show, because, I mean, the rich kids, they get to make all the mistakes they want, and people start applauding them and clapping when they become slightly less annoying.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the rural kid has to be perfect from beginning to end. If they show even a little bit of selfishness, they're fried.
True.
Almost every major city participant walked away with millions of followers on Douyin and Weibo. Do you guys remember the influencer Abby from a couple videos ago? Yeah, she was in the show. And we all know what mess she ended up in.
No way, that was her? Oh, bro, that's disgusting. The freaky ass cyborg chick.
Tommy was also a city kid during the 9th season, and he is now a famous actor and influencer with millions of followers after debuting in the show. And during a live stream, he actually exposed the producers and openly talked about the show. They forced the city kids to start breaking things and said that they didn't have to pay for any of it. And if there wasn't enough conflict, they'd intimidate them or threaten them to make more. Now compare that to the poor rural participants. They just quietly disappeared. All of them went back home to their original life, constantly hoping that they could go back to their city family.
Awful.
A lot of them ended up working in factories just to get by every day.
Jesus.
On a good note, if you remember Gao, the rural kid from the first season who was crying after looking out the window, he was considered the only kid in the entire show who made it out with a better future. Ironic, because that season is the only season that the producers didn't interfere with. Gao actually left the mountains and successfully entered Hunan Normal University, where he studied military defense. Since then, the show has been cancelled due to the controversy, and ultimately, the city kids were made to become famous, while the rural kids were exploited.
Yeah, I think making a show about exploiting children is probably not the play, and I'm glad that it's fucking over. What a disgusting premise. I understand that it could be cool if it's done right, but it fucking wasn't. That's absolutely disgusting.